Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Kansas Corporation Commission, I want to welcome you to tonight's public hearing. My name is Andrew French, and I am the chair of the Kansas Corporation Commission. Joining me are my colleagues, Commissioner Dwight Keene and Commissioner Susan Duffy. And at this time, I will turn it briefly to them to say a quick hello to everyone. Commissioner Keene, would you like to start?
Yes, thank you, Chair French. Our thanks to all of you who are joining in on this. These public hearings are an integral part of all of these rate case proceedings. They're an important part. All of your comments, including those that you may submit in writing subsequently, become a part of the permanent record. We're grateful for your being here and thank you for your attendance.
Thank you, Commissioner Keene. Commissioner Duffy, would you like to say hello?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I would welcome everyone to tonight's proceeding. I appreciate the public taking the time out of their schedule to join in tonight and be a part, or thank goodness for technology. If you're not able to do it tonight, maybe you're watching the Olympics. At your leisure, you'll be able to review tonight's proceeding. And again, I echo Commissioner Keene's comments that your opinion, your issues do matter to us. So again, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners Keene and Duffy. So to make participation in this hearing as convenient as possible for all the Black Hills customers across the state, as you all know by now, this hearing is being held virtually by Zoom, and there is live streaming on the KCC YouTube channel. But because we are using technology, please do bear with us if you experience any technical difficulties. At this time, I will now call to order the public hearing in docket number 21 BHCG 418 RTS. This docket was initiated by an application from Black Hills Energy requesting approval of a rate increase and to continue the use of its GSRS gas system reliability surcharge. Hearing your opinions, as the commissioners mentioned, is an important part of our process for considering this application. So thank you very much for your participation. Tonight's hearing will operate in two parts. The first part of the meeting is an informational session. You'll hear brief presentations explaining the issues being addressed in the docket from representatives of Black Hills Energy, the Citizens Utility Ratepayer Board, usually referred to as CURB, and you'll also hear from the commission staff. Now, after these presentations, there will also be an opportunity to ask questions about the application. The commissioners will not be present during this first part of this evening's public hearing, the presentations and the Q&A session. However, at the conclusion of the question and answer session, the commissioners will rejoin the meeting to hear your public comments during part two. So at this time, I'm going to turn the hearing over to the Commission's Assistant General Counsel and the pre-hearing officer in this docket, Mr. David Cohen. He will moderate part one of tonight's agenda. I hope you find that informative, and we, the commissioners, will see you again for part two. The commission meeting now stands in recess, and we will go off the record until the conclusion of part one of the hearing. And Mr. Cohen, I will turn it over to you.
Yeah, I was just waiting for them to put you in the breakout room. Thank you, Chair French. Good evening. As stated earlier, we will begin part one with brief presentations from representatives of Black Hills Energy, the Citizens Utility Ratepayer Board, or CURB, and from Commission staff. At the conclusion of the final presentation, you will have the opportunity to ask our speakers any questions you have about the case. Our first presenter is Jerry Watkins of Black Hills Energy. Rob Daniels, also from Black Hills, will follow
him. Thank you, Your Honor. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Well, good evening, everybody. Again, thanks for your attendance. My name is Jerry Watkins, and I'm the General Manager for Black Hills Energy here in Kansas. So we appreciate the opportunity to share our story with our valued customers today, and we sincerely appreciate the time you're taking tonight to listen and allow us to explain some of the details surrounding our proposed rate application. At Black Hills Energy, it's our goal to be the safest utility in the country, So to help us achieve that, we start every single meeting with a safety topic. And I'd like to continue that practice tonight by talking about the importance of safe digging practices. In case you're not aware, Kansas 811 is the underground utility notification center for the state of Kansas. By dialing 811, a person can notify operators of underground facilities of proposed excavations to request that the underground facilities be marked before they dig. With that in mind, we've asked communities we serve across the state to declare August 11th as 811 Day, a time to remind everyone to call 811 before you dig. It's safe, it's free, and it's the law. You might not be aware, but the biggest risk to our pipelines and to the public and our employees is when others are digging around our facilities. So anytime you break ground, either for a backyard project, a commercial, or if you're a commercial excavator, everyone should be calling 811 at least 3 days before that kind of project starts. Damage prevention is a shared responsibility, and calling 811 saves us all time, it saves us money, and it keeps Kansans safe. And remember, it's a free service. Well, now that you know just a little bit about our culture, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about Black Hills Energy here in Kansas. We provide service to approximately 117,000 customers in 65 communities with the energy that fuels homes, powers our communities, and helps our businesses grow. Our 132 employees oversee about 4,500 miles of infrastructure. To put that distance in perspective, we operate and maintain enough pipe to stretch from one end of the country to the other and almost back again. That's a huge responsibility that we take very seriously, and we stand ready to ensure that our communities have the life-saving energy available when they need it. So here at Black Hills, we have a fundamental belief that Kansans deserve safe and reliable natural gas. We're able to achieve that through a few different ways that are all bound to our core value of safety. You'll hear about it more later, but the major way we deliver safe and reliable natural gas is through our Accelerated Replacement Plan, or ARP for short. We've been working in communities across the state to replace infrastructure that has both improved reliability and reduced our greenhouse gas emissions. Our systems are safer and they're cleaner because of this replacement plan. The Gas System Reliability Surcharge, or GSRS for short, has made our Accelerated Replacement Plan possible. In 2006, the Kansas legislature passed the Gas Safety and Reliability Policy Act, creating the GSRS, which allows natural gas utilities like us to recover its capital investments on certain types of investments and infrastructure replacements that address safety and reliability. In short, GSRS makes our Accelerated Replacement Plan possible, and will be discussed more later in our presentation. The need to continue to use the GSRS is critical and one reason why we're filing our first rate application in 7 years. So since our last rate application in 2014, we've invested well over $100 million of capital to continue providing customers safe, efficient, and reliable energy. Some examples of those investments include increasing reliability and capacity to Kansas customers by completing projects like integrity loops, seen in the upper left-hand picture, to ensure sufficient pressure during high demand periods. It was like through these type of investments that allowed us to keep the gas flowing and keep customers warm during the winter storm back in February. Likewise, we've been fueling economies by installing new supply lines to help towns attract new businesses, as seen in the upper right-hand picture. And I will mention that all of these pictures are taken right here in Kansas with our own employees. And then thirdly, responding to the needs of our customers by bringing cleaner processed gas supply to several rural locations as well. And then finally, by helping communities grow by supporting new housing and commercial developments across the state. Simply put, we have a 365-day per year mission to be there when needed to fuel our economies. Another way that we're supporting Kansas communities is through our financial and volunteer support. In 2020 alone, Black Hills and customers like you made a $58 million economic impact across Kansas. It is in our DNA to be ingrained in the communities we serve. Their success, quite simply, our success. And it's in our culture to fully embrace every opportunity to improve our hometowns. You will find our employees ingrained in our communities in roles like volunteer firefighters, in roles like council members, and they're youth advocates, just to name a few of the things that we're involved in. We gave more than $378,000 in charitable giving to nonprofits like the Finney County United Way, the Lawrence Arts Center, and Rainbows United in Wichita, and many more fantastic nonprofits like these. We were able to give over $129,000 to families who struggled to pay their energy bills, thanks to customers who donated funds that were then matched 100% by our foundation through the Black Hills Cares program. So we do all of these things with the customer's best interest in mind, and I want to share how we've improved our focus on customers in the past 7 years. They started by tapping experts in the field of customer experience and design to truly understand our customers' needs so we could turn those insights into actions. We heard self-service was important, so our digital redesign team put power in the customer's hands to monitor monthly usage, sign up for email alerts, and take more control of their billing. It revolutionized how our technicians responded to customers, and we now measure that success to continually improve the customer experience. All of this really adds up to where we are today, a rate application to seek recovery for infrastructure investments and cost increases that have supported improvements in safety, growth, the growth of our communities, and the focus on our customers. Our proposal to recover the costs we've talked about today is just $2.27 a month for a typical residential customer. So to help you better understand how the rate applications work, we want to show you just a quick video I think you'll find informative. James, I think we're lacking audio.
I think IT is working on this one right now.
Okay.
Mute.
Yep. Stand by.
Yep. And we can skip the video if need be.
From providing the energy to fuel your furnace, stove, or dryer, to empowering the economies where we live and work, Black Hills Energy is committed to providing you with reliable energy to fuel your lives. That's why Black Hills Energy in Kansas is taking steps today to be in a better position to serve you tomorrow. We're filing a request to recover the costs that provide reliable infrastructure for you. It's called a rate review. You may be surprised that Black Hills Energy doesn't set the natural gas price, doesn't profit off the natural gas you use, and doesn't set the rates that impact your gas bill. These rates are set by the Kansas Corporation Commission, called the KCC for short. It's an independent state agency to make sure utilities in Kansas work in your best interest. As an example, for every mile of pipeline installed or replaced in the natural gas system, and for every technician who installs it, the cost of that work is shared across all customers in the state. Using this method, Black Hills Energy can keep Kansas utility bills affordable, while maintaining and keeping more than 4,500 miles of pipelines safe across the state. It's a small price to pay for reliable heat in the winter, a warm shower, a stove to cook on, and maybe even a gas fireplace. Once Black Hills Energy submits its request, the KCC reviews the cost to ensure the infrastructure investment is prudent and beneficial to the consumer. A second organization, the Citizens Utility Ratepayer Board, also reviews the request to protect ratepayers. Then, after months of review, the KCC makes a final rate decision based on the cost to reliably and safely serve all customers. Black Hills Energy works daily to provide you with safe and reliable natural gas service at a reasonable price. That's why it's been 7 years since we filed a rate review with the KCC. Along with money-saving efficiency tips, the power of trees, payment plans, and emergency utility assistance, our top priority is for you to have reliable, safe energy to fuel your life. For more information on how we serve your community, visit blackhillsenergy.com.
All right, well, thanks to IT for getting that up and running. If that's the only glitch we have, that's not bad at all, so appreciate that. Well, I hope you found that video helpful and informative. I would like to say for more information on the specifics of our rate application, I'm going to turn that over to Rob Daniel, our Regulatory and Finance Manager. So, Rob?
Thank you, Jerry, and good evening, everybody. My name is Rob Daniel, and as Jerry said, I'll be talking in a little more detail about the specifics of our rate application. As you've heard from Jerry, one of the main reasons for this application is due to our gas system reliability surcharge, which is set to expire at the end of this year. GSRS legislation requires that a utility file a new rate application after approximately 5 to 7 years in order to continue to use the GSRS. Since our last rate application was in 2014, we were required to file this new rate application to continue to use the GSRS, which supports our accelerated pipe replacement program for safety and reliability investments that Jerry previously discussed. Another key component of this rate application is the importance of helping customers realize the benefits from recent federal and state tax reform. We've already returned over $8 million since 2018 as a part of the Federal Tax Cuts and Jobs Act and recent state tax reform, and this rate application will allow us to return over $8 million more to our customers. Finally, as Jerry mentioned, Black Hills has made significant capital investments since its last rate review in order to provide safe and reliable service to our Kansas customers. The final impact of our request totals $5.3 million, which is partially offset by a proposed refund of $2.8 million per year over the next 3 years associated with tax reform savings. I do want to take a further look at the impact to our customers based on our request. This slide shows the impact to our residential customers' bills as a result of our rate application. As I mentioned previously, the overall impact of the company's request is reduced by refunds associated with tax reform savings. I'll point you to the bottom of the table, and as shown there, the average monthly increase to a residential customer's bill is highlighted based on a few different time periods during the year. Overall, a residential customer using an average of 56 therms a month will experience an increase of $2.27 a month, or about 4.5%. This increase will vary depending on the time of the year and the amount of gas used. As an example, residential customers will experience an average monthly increase of about $4.32, or 5.8% in the colder months, and an average monthly increase of 81 cents, or 2.5% in the warmer months. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Jerry. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. So as we begin to wrap up our presentation this evening, I'd like to address where we've been and where we're going. First, please know that we take the rate application process very seriously. We know it has an impact on our customers and on our communities. We don't like raising rates either, but it's imperative to recover our costs and our investments, and we won't be able to continue to deliver safe and economical energy to your home or business. Remember, our employees are consumers just like you, and we can assure you that our team works hard to keep prices affordable every day. We have managed costs prudently for 7 years and are filing this application to reset the GSRS mechanism, recover our investments, and address tax changes. We officially filed our report with the KCC on May 7th, and that brings us to today's public comment hearing. Looking forward, October 18th through 20th, there will be an evidentiary hearing by the Commission where customers will have another opportunity to provide formal feedback. The KCC has set a deadline of December 30th to identify a decision on our request, and we would expect new rates to take effect on January 1st. I'd like to close with just a few personal thoughts. First and foremost, Kansas deserves safe and reliable natural gas. Bound by our commitment to safety, we've managed expenses prudently while generating numerous benefits for our customers. We have continually delivered a safe and economical energy source to fuel our customers' needs year-round, and we are committed to doing that for years to come. So in closing tonight, I sincerely appreciate the opportunity to share some of the details of our rate application with you. To our customers in attendance, I thank you for allowing us to provide energy that fuels your homes and businesses. Rob and I are here and available to respond to any questions you might have at the appropriate time. And you can also email us at the address above or reach out to our Customer Experience Program Manager if questions come up after this meeting. So again, thank you for your time and thank you for joining tonight. Back to you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Jerry and Rob. Our next speaker is David Nickel from the Consumer Council for the Citizens Utility Ratepayer Board, or CUR. David, you're muted.
I had the best joke just then, so I'll start again. Hello, my name is David Nickel. I'm Consumer Counsel for the Citizens Utility Ratepayer Board. Thank you very much for coming to this public hearing by Zoom and sharing your comments or sharing your comments through the Kansas Corporation Commission. All of your comments in this matter are important to the commission as well as all parties in this proceeding. So we thank you for taking time for that input. And thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight addressing such matters as CURB's mission, its organization, and its role in rate cases such as this one. I'm trying to get, well, I'm just going to proceed with my comments without a PowerPoint. Our mission derives from our enabling statutes, which makes us an advocacy agency. We represent residential and small utility ratepayers in 3 different venues. The first is before the Kansas Corporation Commission. The second is before the Kansas Legislature. And the third is before the Kansas courts. With regard to the Kansas Legislature, we testify before the legislature on all bills that affect utility ratepayers. We also analyze a number of legislative bills with utility impacts. The Kansas courts entertain appeals from KCC orders, and so we may be involved in that aspect of it. Our most prominent feature is our work before the Kansas Corporation Commission, because that is where utility rates are set, and that is where the commission determines utility practices, such as the importance of gas safety and reliability and electric reliability and safety in providing services to the consumers. We consider this to be our most important aspect because it mostly impacts the customer. CURB is a very small agency. We only have 7 staff members. I am consumer counsel for the agency. I have 2 attorneys underneath me and 2 rate analysts, and then we're served by 2 administrative staff. Next. Thank you. Even though we're very small and our budget is very small, we're completely fee funded. We do not derive any tax revenue from state funds. We still involve ourselves in over 100 rate cases in fiscal year 21, and typically over 100 in every fiscal year. We spend 4 months before the Kansas Legislature. We testify on a number of bills. This year, we looked at over 16 bills that were passed. Upwards of 15% of our time is dedicated towards outreach programs, such as speaking, our newsletter, and other means. Most of the time in outreaches, we're reaching out and talking to customers who have questions concerning our their bills and issues that they have with their utilities. We consider this to be a very important aspect of our service. The CURB staff our activities are directed by 5 board members, all of which are appointed by the governor. The board members are all volunteers, and even though they're volunteers and aren't paid any amount for their services to the state of Kansas, they spend upwards of 100 hours a year keeping track of utility rate cases and utility practices so that they can direct the activities of CURB staff. We are lucky to have good board members on our board, and they do take an active interest in all utility rate cases. They actually engage in about 4 or 5 meetings a year with CURB staff, and each of those meetings are open to the public. So we welcome any public member to come to a CURB board member meeting and ascertain for yourselves how CURB fulfills its mission as set forth by Kansas statutes. Next slide. The board members represent the constituents in each of their congressional districts from where they live. So we have Mary Treaster from Congressional District number 1, Lelena Gray from Congressional District number 2, Rachel Jefferson from Congressional District number 3, Melody McCrae Miller from Congressional District number 4, and Carol Barta is an at-large member, making the 5 board members that direct CURB's activities. This is the first time in CURB's history that we've had all women on the board. They are all fairly new, not having served for any longer than 2 years. As to any of them, 3 are just appointed in June, but all have some involvement with utility rates. All are concerned about high utility rates in general, and all are important. See the importance of being good stewards of our environment. Next slide, please. And this board will direct our activities in this rate case. Another aspect of this rate case is extremely important, is that rate cases are governed by law, not only Kansas law, but United States Supreme Court precedent. And in that regard, the United States Supreme Court spoke in 1944 and said that regulators, including the KCC, are required to balance the interest of consumers versus the interest of the utility. We'll see how this plays out. Next slide. So CURB in this case is going to present evidence solely from the perspective of residential and business consumers. It will look at what it considers to be reasonable rates based upon what a utility ratepayer might determine. Not surprisingly, next slide. The utility's view of what reasonable rates are and CURB's view may be vastly different. That's not all bad, because the KCC, which is the administrative judge in this matter, considers all of the evidence, either from CURB's view or from the utility's view, and finds a balance between those. In other words, the KCC attempts to find what's in the public interest. There's an element of fairness in all of its proceedings. The KCC is bound by the evidentiary record that's put on, and so the more evidence that there is, the more freedom that there is for the commission to ferret out a fair result in this matter. The KCC is aided by a very dedicated and knowledgeable staff that also presents evidence on behalf of the public generally, and an Office of General Counsel with years of experience and wisdom that helps direct the commission's decisions as an advisory. So we're very lucky in those respects. While the regulatory scheme that we have may not be perfect, it has worked for over 100 years, and we have every ability to rely upon it as the rule of law in this particular case. Next slide. So in the end, the commission weighs the evidence and balances the interests of the parties, and evidence allows that to occur. Next slide. So let's turn to the issues in this case. There are several issues that CURB is interested in, but I'm just going to highlight a few of those. The first has to do with the GSRS, which Black Hills has addressed earlier. It is important that it could continue. As Black Hills pointed out, it has kept Black Hills from having to file rate cases for the last 7 years, even though they have maintained reliable and safe issues with regard to their pipeline service. If you think about the cost of a utility rate case, not having to have rate cases for 7 years has saved the consumer considerable money. One aspect that we're going to take some time to look at is a revenue increase that's net of the GSRS that will be rolled into statute, rolled into rate base. And that amount is $5.3 million. It will be offset by some deferred income tax, accumulated deferred income tax by virtue of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017. But we'll look at the overall rate increase and determine that all expenditures that are made by Black Hills, in our view, are prudent and reasonable and necessary. One other concern that we have in most every rate case is the rate of return on common equity. In this case, Black Hills is asking for a 10.15% rate of return on their common equity. We typically file testimony with regard to this. At this point, we're still looking to see what is a fair rate of return on common equity, and we'll file testimony in those regards. Finally, I'd like to highlight the customer charge. In this particular case, Black Hills is asking for a $20 per month customer charge. CURB tends to prefer a lower customer charge in each and every case, but we've not looked at this point to see what particular customer charge would be justifiable from the consumer standpoint. So those are a few of the issues that we're going to undertake in this particular rate case in representing you, the residential and small commercial ratepayer. I'd like to again thank you for your opportunity to come and speak to you about CURB and its organization and its role in this particular rate case. And again, thank you for taking the time to file comments in this particular rate case, as all the parties will find that to be beneficial. CURB is an advocate for you, the residential and commercial ratepayer. We're always available to answer your questions or address concerns that you have. Please use our website, our telephone, or our email to address concerns, and we'll be happy to answer those questions. Also, you can subscribe to the CURB newsletter for additional information. Thank you for your time and attention to this matter, and I'll turn the meeting over.
Thank you, Mr. Nickel. Our final presentation of the evening will be from Cole Bailey, representing KCC staff.
Good evening. My name is Cole Bailey. I am an attorney for the Corporation Commission. I represent the Commission's technical. Am I on?
Yes, you're on.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I'm an attorney for Commission's technical staff. I work for the KCC, but I do not represent the KCC or the commissioners. While I'm an employee of the KCC, my obligations are owed to Commission staff. Tonight, I will be providing an overview on some core functions of the KCC as well as Black Hills rate case. This will include information on the docket proceedings, who the Commission staff is, how staff will analyze Black Hills request, and how members of the public can stay informed. The Kansas Corporation Commission is a state agency that is made up of 3 commissioners. The commissioners are appointed by the governor and serve staggered 4-year terms. As a commission, they have jurisdiction to oversee a number of industries. To assist the commission in this role, they have a staff of professionals in fields of accounting, economics, and engineering who are available to provide guidance and input. The commission staff themselves are state of Kansas employees or consultants hired by the state. They have a tremendous amount of professional knowledge and trainings in fields of such as accounting, economics, engineering, and financial analysis. Many of our staff members have earned master's degrees or PhDs. We have members from each of these areas of expertise here tonight with me in case any of you have questions. During the proceedings with the commission, staff advocates for the public generally, which is another way of saying that they balance the interests of all utility customers, the long-term health of the utility in the state of Kansas. Staff attempts to weigh numerous competing interests and develop a position that serves everyone as best they can. Black Hills rate case application was filed last May. Black Hills requested an initial revenue increase of $10.2 million. About half of that request is currently being recovered through the GSRS that Atmos mentioned before, or Black Hills mentioned before. As such, the real net request from Black Hills is about $5.3 million. With an offset of a tax refund, this request works out to about $2.27 per month for about 3 years for the average residential customer. There are a number of elements that make up the request like Black Hills. One key driver for the case is the investment in the utility that is made to provide service to its customers. Another is return on equity, or ROE. Just like investments you may have, utilities request a certain return on their investments. Just because they request something does not mean that we will agree, staff will agree. And even if we do, that does not necessarily guarantee the utility its requested return. Generally speaking, it's a request to have the opportunity to earn something, not the right to earn something. Across the country, ROE is one of the most heavily litigated elements of the utility rate cases. And you can be certain we're scrutinizing Black Hills request closely. And this scrutiny applies to all elements of Black Hills rate case. From the riders to the rate design, you can be sure the commission staff is going through the request cover to cover, auditing and verifying the elements of the case. I'd like to provide a little bit of context on the rate case process. Some of you may be wondering why we have rate cases in Kansas. In short, through the regulation of the natural gas industry, natural gas utilities are granted territorial monopolies, and their rates are regulated by the Kansas Corporation Commission. Under Kansas law, rates for natural gas services must be just and reasonable. This legal requirement means rates must be sufficient to cover the utilities' operating expenses and provide a reasonable level of return on the utilities investment. As I said, my name is Cole. I'm an attorney who works for the KCC, and my job is to represent Commission's technical staff. Staff makes their case to the Commission. The reason I do that is because in certain situations, the Commission acts like a court. The commissioners act as judges. They hear and weigh evidence. Witnesses testify in front of them and they issue orders that could be appealed to higher courts. Technical staff acts as a party to the case. It develops and defends its own positions, recognizing that technical staff's duty is owed to the state of Kansas and the public generally. Here's how it works. In theory, the KCC is a state agency. At the top of it, there are 3 commissioners. In a formal proceeding like this rate case, there are different parties. This includes the utility, the commission's technical staff, CURB, and numerous interveners representing a variety of interests. As you can see, all of these are separate parties to the case, and even though the commission staff works for the commission, we independently develop and recommend our own positions on these issues. Just like a court, it's the attorney's job to represent the client's case to the commissioners, and that's where I fit in. Once an application for a rate increase is filed, the commission staff conducts an independent review of the company's request. This review includes an in-depth examination of the company's finances, which allows staff to evaluate the application for accuracy and for compliance with Kansas law and the commission's regulations. The investigation also includes identification of any positive or negative impacts on customers, the utility, and the public generally. During this investigation, staff determines which cost the utility is entitled to recover in rates, that is, the cost necessary to provide gas service and those costs that are not appropriate to recover from customers. Finally, staff also evaluates the structure of the utility's rates to ensure they are fair and based on the underlying cost to serve those customers. After its investigation is complete, staff submits written testimony that indicates its position on the application. and staff actively participates in the rate case process by advocating for its position. Staff's role is not to help one party or the other, but rather to provide independent assistance to the commissioners in balancing competing interests and evaluating the total impact of the application on the public. Okay, the remaining deadlines in the docket are on the screen now. Staff and intervener testimony will be September 10th, 2021. Staff and intervener cross-answering testimony is September 21, 2021. And then Black Hills rebuttal testimony will do October 1st. The most important date on here for the public is the public comment period, which ends October 21st, 2021 at 5 p.m. After that, the commission will hold an evidentiary hearing starting the 18th with an order to follow December 30th, 2021. If you have any additional questions about this case, commission staff is here and we are available to answer questions this evening, or you can contact Commission's Office of Public Affairs and Consumer Protection. I'll leave this screen up, but the important information here is that the way you can make comments is you can make a comment tonight, or you can go to the KCC website and click Your Opinion Matters and leave your comment there. You can write a letter to us at the address 1500 Southwest Arrowhead Road in Topeka, or email us or give us a call at the number below 800-662-0027. Case information can be found on our website, again at kcc.ks.gov. You click docket filings tab, and then you enter the docket number 21 BHCG 418 RTS, or you can click again the button Your Opinion Matters and find the public hearing and comment period schedule for Black Hills and click View Docket Details. That's all I have. Like I said, I have staff with me if anyone has any questions, and I'll leave this up for now unless IT wants me to take it down.
Thanks, Cole. We will now take questions for Black Hills, CURB, and Commission staff. If you're a registered participant in the Zoom meeting, let us know you have a question by using the raise hand feature. This feature is part of your Zoom controls. Depending on your device, it may be part of the reactions button. When your name is called, your microphone will be unmuted. Please limit yourself to one question until others have had an opportunity to ask their questions. We will come back around as time permits. Please refrain from any inappropriate language that could result in us silencing your microphone. I'd like to remind everyone that the formal public comment portion of the hearing does not begin until the commissioners rejoin us in part 2. Feel free to ask questions at this time, but save your comments on the application until the appropriate time so they can be recorded and added to the official record in this case. Does anyone have any questions? All right, well, it looks like I'm not seeing any questions. I'll give it another few seconds just in case people are having technical difficulties. All right, well, that was a very easy question session. We will pause for a minute to welcome the commissioners back to the hearing and begin part 2 of tonight's hearing.
right. The commissioners, it appears we have all been retrieved from the back room. And it does appear, unless someone stops me, that part one of tonight's public hearing has been completed. So with that, we will move on to part two, where we will hear public comments. So at this time, I am now reconvening the Kansas Corporation Commission public hearing for docket number 21 BHCG 418 RTS, and we are back on the record. Black Hills Energy initiated this docket for the primary purpose of requesting a rate increase and for approval to continue using its gas system reliability surcharge. As I mentioned earlier, my name is Andrew French, and I am the chair of the Kansas Corporation Commission. My colleagues, Commissioners Dwight Keene and Susan Duffy, join me in thanking you for attending the public hearing this evening. As I mentioned, this hearing is on the record, and the transcript of the public hearing will become a part of the official docket file that we consider in this matter. With that, we will now move to the appearances of council, and I will start with Black Hills.
Good evening, Commission. Good to see you. James G. Flaherty, Ottawa, Kansas, and Douglas J. Law, Associate General Counsel with Black Hills Energy, appearing on behalf of the applicant, Black Hills Energy.
Thank you. Curb.
David Nickel on behalf of Curb.
Thank you. And commission staff.
Cole Bailey on behalf of staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Does staff have a recommendation regarding whether notice was proper for this proceeding?
Yes. In the commission's June 10th, 2021 order adopting a procedural schedule, the commission ordered a public hearing in this matter to be held today, August 4th, 2021 at 6 p.m. The commission's order setting procedural schedule was served on all parties to the proceeding at the time. On July 30th, 2021, Black Hills filed an affidavit of mailing announcing the date, time, and a short explanation of the public hearing and rate case placed in bill inserts that had been mailed to customers July 2021 bills, as well as being delivered to electronic customers with their e-bills at the same period. And then on August 2nd, 2021, Black Hills filed an affidavit of publication in newspapers. The same information was placed in the newspaper of various newspapers in their territories, and it described the date, time, and explanation of this public hearing. Therefore, staff recommends notice is proper and the commission has jurisdiction to hear this matter at the time.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Are there any objections to notice in this proceeding? Hearing none, I do find that notice was proper and the commission has jurisdiction to conduct this public hearing at this time and place. As we mentioned before, this hearing is an important step in our process and we look forward to hearing your comments. We cannot engage in dialogue with you during the proceeding. However, it's possible the commissioners may ask questions simply for clarification. And to assist with public comments, I'd like to introduce Ms. Linda Berry. She is the Director of Public Affairs and Consumer Protection at the KCC.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Before I get started, I did want to mention one more time that in addition to the comments that are made during this hearing, we are taking public comments through the Public Affairs Office until 5 p.m. on October 21st. So if you're watching on YouTube and you'd like to make a comment, there are several ways you can do that. And I'll share all of the details on that at the end of the comment period, or the comment session tonight. Similar to the Q&A process, we'd like to invite anyone who would like to make a comment before the commission to do so. And please raise your hand. That's a setting in your Zoom controls if you'd like to make a comment. When I recognize you, we will also unmute you so that you can share your comment. So if anyone would like to make a comment, please raise your hand. We'll give a few minutes to see if there is anyone who would like to. I'm still not seeing anyone raise their hands, so maybe what we will do is go on to the slide that talks about making a public comment. And if someone during the time that we're talking about that wants to raise their hand and make a comment, I'll be watching and can call on you at that time. So what you're looking at right now is a screenshot of the homepage of the KCC website. Again, comments will be accepted through 5 p.m. on October 21st. The very easiest way to submit a public comment is to go to our website. On the left side in the red circle, you'll see a box that says Your Opinion Matters. If you click there and then scroll down to the Black Hills Energy Rate Increase application, you'll see a link that says Submit a Comment. That's also circled in red. That will bring up a form and allow you to very easily and quickly submit a comment. One of the things that Cole mentioned earlier was finding details about this docket. You'll notice the links along next to Submit a Comment will also give you a lot of great information if you want to do some research on this case. We will also take public comments through our public affairs email address, which you'll also notice on the slide. Or if you'd like to, you can just call our office. There are a couple different numbers and we'd be happy to help you document your comment as well. So we definitely encourage anyone who's interested in submitting a comment to do so. It's very important. I'm not seeing any additional raised hands. So I will return this hearing to Chair French so he can continue on with closing comments.
I wasn't given much of a break. All right, well, we will go ahead and conclude the proceeding then. I do want to thank everyone for their attendance. And, for those of you watching online, thank you for your interest, and reiterate what Ms. Berry said, that there is still a substantial opportunity to make public comments in this docket. And you can find all of that information on our website at kcc.ks.gov. Also want to mention that the commission will be holding an evidentiary hearing on this matter beginning October 18th, 2021, and that will start at 9 a.m. at our offices in Topeka. And under the procedural schedule that we've set for this matter, we have to issue a decision on or before December 30th, 2021. So this does conclude the public hearing, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn from either of my fellow commissioners.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, please vote aye.
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 Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Off
Thank
the
you,
record.
staff.
Thank you.